Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to the Spiritual Ranch. I'm just not nothing away. I'm the off-grid oracle. You can see compared to my hands, that's a pretty big tree. But I was just gonna show you guys, because it kind of like what I talk about out here with the fire, because like right here, this is the other side of, like right over the ridge. You can see my smoke right over here, see? And that's like the southern exposure of this mountain, right? And so here, this is the northern exposure. It's actually due north. This is due north right here. And so you can see like this is all dug fir and everything. And it's like this still could be managed a little bit better. This is national forest, so it's not as clean as it should be. But if a fire came through here, mainly it's going to take out all these little trees right here, but it's going to leave these big established ones because they could survive a fast moving fire that would just burn up all this debris on the forest floor, you know? And so it's like over here now, when you get into the southern exposure, because the Doug fir requires more water, and so on the northern side of the mountain, it gets more of the mist, and because out here we get mist from the coastal influence. It's that mist will build up here on the mountain, and it waters these trees. You know, it's like these trees right here behind me, it waters those Doug firs, right? So you get a big stand of Doug fir like that. And like I said, when fire goes through there, the forest itself is a little bit kind of like an asbestos forest a little, because it's kind of damp underneath it. And once it gets burned through once, then the shade from the canopy keeps all the brush out from growing real crazy, right? But that's because that's that environment on that side of the mountain. But over here, because this is the southern side of the mountain, this one gets all the sun, and so it stays dry over here, you know. And so the environment that it hosts is oak savanna, which is the oak trees, see, like that I've been explaining about, and the manzanita right here that can take over if it's not managed by fire. So like when the fire comes through here, the job for the fire to do, because if on this side the manzanita is very drought tolerant, and it's a really robust plant, and it makes a lot of little seeds really quickly, and so it produces these little seedlings like this. See all these little seedlings? It produces those little seedlings, and then if not managed, if a fire doesn't come through and burn the grass and burn those little seedlings, then the manzanita is able to get out of control like this. And so the national forest needs to do their job, but they don't, because they can't afford it. And so they just let the forest get unhealthy, because you can see, like, look, all this dead trees. See this tree right here, dead tree, you know, and it's all poorly managed, so it's got diseases and stuff, but it's because it's all choked out. And so when a fire does come through here, though, that fire will burn hot enough that it will make flames that will jump all the way up into the canopy of these trees, instead of just burning slowly along their trunks. And then it'll catch that whole forest on fire, and it'll kill all of those trees, just like it did over here on the other side of the mountain, like I was showing you guys up there on that ridge right there, you know. And so that's what we're doing out here, and to maintain the forest, to tend to the garden, right? Because that's God's work. That's what we were created for in the first place, was to know how to properly manage these things, so that we don't end up with an unhealthy forest that requires so much effort to restore to a natural state that it should be in already. And it's like, you can see there's some really great big oak trees, a few of them, like there's one right down here, right there. It's like this one right there, that big one right there, see? But they're all sick, and the tops are falling out of them and everything, because they've been choked underneath this manzanita so long. And those are the acorn bearing trees, whereas a lot of those younger trees that you see that I've left, they won't bear an acorn probably for another 25 years, you know? And so it's like we've lost our most sustainable abundance because we poorly managed it, you know? And that's kind of something that we talk about a lot on this channel. And so I was just wanting to share that with y'all. But what I'm going to do too is we have a community page around here, and I wanted to say for the community page, because I can clip this, but if your land looks like this, right? If you have land that looks like that, but you want it to look like this, you know, you could contact me, and I'll put my contact information on the post that I put on Facebook. So that's my Facebook clip, just to advertise, see if I can't drum up a little bit more work, because it is fulfilling work to restore the land back to its natural state, right? I mean, that's God's work, you know. It's what we're called to do. Stop talking about YouTube audience now. Whatever. Anyways, gotta keep yourself entertained out here, you know. Yeah, if you want to live out the sticks on your own like that, you gotta be good at entertaining yourself, you know. It's not just about feeding yourself. But that was another little thing I wanted to kind of talk about here too, because I was thinking with my lunch, it's lunchtime, you know. And so, not for you, little guy. You already had your snack. You already had your treat. But I've been, because I've talked a lot on here about manifestation, you know, and how like we gotta be stepping into our path where we really let God lead, guide, and direct us, you know. And it's like one of those things that a lot of people kind of like, oh, you know, it's hard to do without money, you know. And so, and it is hard to do without money. It is, you know. I'm not even at that point fully. Of course, I'm still in a position. God's still trying to get things arranged in a manner where we could go off from that coin, you know. The world's not there yet, but it's going there, you know. And that's an example that I'm trying to lead by as a leader here moving forward, because this is a spiritual journey that we're all on. And those of us that have a calling in our life are being called to be spiritual leaders, you know. And so that's just what that is. And so it's like, well, what are we leading with? What are we doing? You know, we got to take a big, a lot of time right now in that time that we've been isolated to really reflect on what it is that we are doing. Like, what are we doing? You know, well, what I'm doing is trying to teach people how to go with God. Trust God to provide for you, and you will be provided for, you know. And so anyways, already kind of snacked on a little bit, but this is my lunch, you know. And so the lunch I have is that's venison from a young deer that I ran over. And so I harvested it pretty efficiently. Didn't even use a bullet, right? So I got apples in here that I harvested on the side of the road from a couple apple trees that I'm aware of. I got several boxes of them that'll last me. That's my fruit through the winter. And then I have the greens, which is kale and arugula and some pak choi. The arugula and the pak choi self-sowed from my plants from this summer. So I didn't even have to plant them. That was God's work, right? And they grew. And then I have the onions that are from the garden. I have kale also from the garden. That was a carryover from the kale that I planted last year. And then I cooked it in the lard that the fat that I used was the tallow from the ram that I slaughtered this spring. And then I have some honey mushroom in there that I just harvested off an oak tree out here in the woods, you know. And so that's my lunch, which was all manifested. It was all God-given, you know, like God gave that to me, basically, you know. Like I was asking God. Well, I was asking God about, but my freezer is empty anyways, you know. So I just said a prayer to God, because I was like, yeah, just haven't been chasing money. So it's like, get meat's expensive, and I don't want to live on hot dogs, you know. And so I went down. I did get because turkey's, you know, damn near free during the holidays, so that's always a come up. But then right after I bought that turkey, the very next day, boom, I hit that deer, you know. And so that gave me a good supply. Now I have a whole freezer full of meat, and it was like $5 for that turkey, you know. And so that's like manifesting, you know. That's saying a prayer to God, and then having the intent, because I was really thinking about that energy of like, and I was looking too for whatever, you know, anything I could get my hands on right now, you know. And so I was really thinking about it, and it manifested. That's how it goes. And it's like even all the way down to you know, it's like right now my ride, you know. So it's like my ride, right? And it's that little black ride right there. I manifested it, you know, and well, I manifested it, but it was abandoned basically, you know. So it's not a manifestation. It's like it was abandoned, but it needed because out here, like when a lot of the growers vacated out here, they just left all these vehicles behind that aren't registered or nothing like that, you know. And so like they're kind of like, who knows where they came from. And so like, but this one needed a starter, and it needed couple tires, it needed some brakes. No, it didn't need a starter, it needed a battery, it needed brakes, you know. And so I put battery in it, I put some brakes on it, and some tires, and boom, I got myself a ride. So that was a ride that, you know, I was like, I needed a ride. My other one, my big one is doing death wobble, because I got an older 85 like diesel Ford, which I love that truck, but it's doing death wobble, so I need to get some do the front end on it. And but until then, like I needed a ride, and boom, here's this little black one that was really easy for me to get going, you know. And so it's like I have a ride, and that's the ride that took out that little piece of roadkill for me too, you know. And so it's like, you know what I mean? That's manifestation, you know. Come on now. And then like I was thinking about that earlier, because I was like thinking about talking in that read I did earlier. I was thinking about that stuff too, like, but but also it's like with my clothes, you know, it's like my backpack right here, this shirt, that shirt, you know, it's like my little backpack, the shirt, the dish, this shirt over here, this shirt, my shoes, everything except for my jeans and my socks, my boxer shorts. Basically, I manifested a free pile or like whatever. You know, I found them side of the road. I always pick stuff up. You know, but it's hard to manifest jeans in my size. I got that size. You know, I can't even hardly find them at the store, so you don't really manifest them very often. You have to make a breechcloth. You know. But anyways. That's just what I want to talk about. Yeah, it's like even my home, you know, it's like God's been doing these things for me in ways that I'm really, it's like, you know, I need, like I'm saying this, I'm sharing this because like I'm talking to chosen ones out here, you know, and so it's like you're also in the same position as I am. Like if you're really resonating with this video, you understand why I'm sharing that, because it's like I'm really trying to give some evidence here as to how we're gonna be just fine, you know. Like honestly, everybody's worried about stuff. If you really look into the research, like the amount of stuff that we throw away, like even in our country, or the amount of stuff that's just sitting there going to waste, not even being used, we should none of us be afraid of not having what we need to step away from a system that's trying to control and dominate us through our needs. You know, there's plenty of abundance already. We just have to see it for where it is and see it for what it is and not go away from it. It's okay right now. We need to embrace a bit more of that back to the land movement, of that hippie movement, and realizing that, you know, secondhand and like reusing, you know, reduce, reuse, recycle, man. We need to get back to the basics, and not just to save our world, but to save ourselves from slavery. Because it's that system of refuge where we're always chasing something new that keeps us enslaved, you know. And if we slow down a little bit, it's like I was on my way to work where I ran that deer over, and the first instinct there was like, oh, I don't got time to stop and get it. And I was like, man, fuck that. Of course I got time to stop and get it, you know, like that. Don't be stupid, you know. And I did, and bam, there you go. That's way more abundant for me. I mean, I got a good pile, like 40 pounds of meat off that thing. I'm gonna make some jerky, you know, and like 40 pounds of meat. And today's day and age, I mean, geez, and that's like the best meat you're gonna get. I mean, it's super good. It's like a little 90-pound yearling, you know. It's like, it's my broccoli. That, you know, my broccoli never tastes better because that little bastard probably ate all my broccoli. So, anyways, you guys, I don't know. I'm just gonna keep going at this shit like this, you know, and I really appreciate those of you who appreciate the energy and the message that I'm putting out here, you know, and I appreciate the energy return that I receive, and it's good. It's a good thing, you know. And so anyhow, I'm gonna get my lunch in me, get back after it. I hope you're all having a wonderful day, and like God loves you, you know. I love you too, and we're grateful for God, you know. Just say thank you, say thank you for God to God, you know. Say thank you to God for me, you know, and say thank you to God for yourself, and say thank you to God. And I'll say thank you to God too for you, you know. Teamwork. Anyways, later, guys.